And welcome. How y'all doing? What's happening out there on planet Earth, this crazy rock that we all live on? Check this out. My friend Tracy Guns got me one of these a while ago. This is his signature pedal. Sounds good. Very sort of JCM 800 distortion. It has a switch here for mids. I would say in one position it's quite a bit more sort of flat, or maybe more bass. Sounds more JCM 800 in one position, and the other position more mid forward, a little more focused, a little more like modded Marshall or something. Good sounding though. Good sounding drive if you need a so you know, that kind of cool shape too. That some of like the rocket pedals used to kind of be like that shape. Anyway, good one, Tracy. Sounds good. I want to make a little video for it here soon. I was going to show you something else. You already saw it this week. It was just the Vibe that I did the video for. The Vibe machine. That was it. Vibe machine. Made a video for that this week. Put it out the other day. Was really happy with the sound that I got on the video, both from the pedal but also from the amp. That one, the SL68. Which, you know, if you set a certain way, you can get some really great sounds. So I've had some mods done to my SL68. John put a few mini switches in mine. It's not something that they're doing, but in mine he did just to play with some things. So one of the things it has now is a switchable bright cap. So you can have no bright cap, or the really, really big bright cap like Marshall used to use in the early 70s, or a more chilled out bright cap, but that's kind of like, you know, still cool. And when you jumper the channels on the amp, so, you know, patch cable, jumper the channels, plug in the top left and then go bottom left into the top right. If you turn up you lose a little gain when you jumper, of course, for those that know 4-hole Marshalls. And then if you jumper up to the top right, then you bring up the normal channel to about half, maybe 4 or 5 on the volume. And then on the bright channel, you just mix it into taste, but with the bright cap in. You can get real bright real quick with the bright cap in, and it's at a low volume on channel 1. So that'll bring up to like maybe a quarter of the way up max. And the other one on like 4. And then run all the EQ really low, like kind of below half. You can get this beautiful clean sound. Really expressive, like great one, like, and so that's the sound that I used on that Vibe video anyway. Was the jumpered channels, mostly normal channel, but mixing in a bit of that aggressive bright, and with the EQ real low, especially the mids. You'll turn up the mids, you'll notice it gets a lot more open and gainy all of a sudden. Not open, but it's just you hear it fill in and kind of get aggressive when you turn up the mids. Not like crazy gain, but you definitely, you know, you hit it hard and it's distorted. Bring that mid down to about 2 and you'll hear it kind of scoop out. It just gets a little more fendery, for lack of a better, you know, because of course the EQ on a Marshall is all subtractive. So as you're turning it down, you're actually, you know, you're losing gain, but it sounds really cool when you want a clean sound. So yeah, anyways, that's the sound on there. Technique question. When you alternate pick fast, is the pick pulling out from the string? Is your palm somewhat open upwards? I don't know. Palm somewhat open. I mean, I tend to, my motion when I'm picking fast is kind of just like that. It's like very, you know, and I guess I'm going kind of across the string, and it's minimal motion is the thing that I always say. You know, just use the very tip of the pick, the very tip of the pick. If I'm trying to go fast, I lighten up the faster I go. Lighten my touch, use less pick. It kind of makes for efficiency of motion. That's how I do it. Have you seen the recently discovered live video of Uli Roth? I did see this video. It's really great. Agreed. Yeah, it's super cool. Neat guitar playing and video, you know. I was excited to see that show up, actually. It was very cool. Yeah. Good stuff. If you haven't seen that, you could do a YouTube search and you'll just find it if you're so inclined. A lot of his playing, I think, maybe ended up in some of, Eddie Van Halen's, especially just before Eddie started tapping and he was doing more of the fast picking, kind of stretching. Uli did a lot of that, like, kind of modal stuff. I'm sure Eddie was hip to that, Yeah. Good stuff. Good morning from Santa Barbara, says Cup of Noodles. That's one of my favorite towns in California. It's beautiful. Nice vibe up there. I could see spending time up there. Just chilling out. It's me and Prince Harry. We'll hang. Go get beers. Or Oprah. Go hang with Oprah. Let's see. Do you know if I can order your signature guitar from Sir with a different color? So there's the 4 colors. Garnet red, black with the red back, gold, or ocean turquoise. That's it for my guitar. You can order a similar spec guitar. I mean, they do that, like custom orders. And you could spec it out to be similar. Probably wouldn't. I don't think they'll do the rings unless it's on my guitar. So, like, I saw one recently on their, I'll show you, on their IG. Let's find the Sir IG. And it was like, oh, yeah, it's basically my guitar. But let's see. It was a real recent post. This one. So it's flame top, but no rings. Pretty cool, the green flame and stuff. I think that's actually pretty sharp. I'm not really a fan of flame tops on Strats or Tellys. It looks pretty cool when it's green, maybe. Maybe when it gets too sunbursty or whatever, it's just kind of not really my thing. Although I love the original design that John did of the, the Pensasur kind of guitar with the EMGs and that's an iconic looking guitar to me, like the kind of the Knopfler, that whole thing. But anyways, this guitar is basically spec'd out. It's got the same bridge. I think it's got, I don't know what the pickups are in it, but it's a really attractive guitar. I'm going to like the photo because I don't think I have. Good looking guitar, natural. It's got natural back, but it's all the same woods, mahogany and everything. So it's like my guitar, but doesn't have the black headstock on it. It's got a natural, you can see roasted. This is maybe roasted mahogany or maybe it's just normal mahogany. I don't know. It's not my guitar. But anyways. What do we got here? We got a couple folks super chats, the super duper chats. Thank you guys. There's AJ says, about to order a classic S antique, was wondering which pickups I would choose for HSS. I'd go Thornbucker Plus and 2 V63s if it was for me. I think that's a great combo. So I like the V63s a lot. The single coils sound great. And then order it with the auto split in position 2 so that the humbucker splits. And if you want to be a lot like me, get a series parallel push-pull in the tone pot. One of the tone pots. And that's a great sound for the bridge humbucker. That brings the bridge humbucker in line output-wise with the singles. They match up pretty good. I mean, it's a humbucker, so it's louder than the singles. It's not too much louder. But if you pull and you get parallel, it's almost exactly the same volume as the singles then. So that gives you a real nice, you do auto split in position 2, series parallel in the tone for the bridge humbucker. You'll get a really, really versatile guitar at that point, in my opinion. That's kind of how I approach it. Thanks so much for the super chat, AJ. Mike. Cheers, my friend. Thank you. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. Red is the only color a guitar should be. Black is the second option. My favorite is my red one. They're all really good, but my red signature is really great. This one. It just plays great. It sounds great. It's easy to play. I love the look of the black back and the red top. It's sexy. The black neck. Good looking guitar. Come on. Ooh, look at that. You just get it at the right angle. Ooh, yeah. Come on. Where the light is. You know what I'm talking about. you can see that there's no reflection, but like not like that, like that. Oh yeah, sorry, just having a moment. Get kind of excited. I'm trying to calm down. Yeah. What pickups you rocking in the new Inca Silver Super Sur? So it's a new bridge pickup that I haven't really announced yet, so I haven't been talking about it. Slightly different. It's Thornbucker character, but it's we've done some different stuff. So more on that soon. The pickup, the single coils are V63s, like I was just mentioning. Yeah. Oh my God, your super chats are coming in quick and crazy. I'm gonna grab them here in a sec. Ever tried any of the orange amps? You know what one I'm most interested in trying is the one Ty plays, which is the solid state one. It's a solid state 200 watt head. That's the one I'm most interested in because I saw him play with it at the Ty Tabor King's X, right? Saw him play at the Whiskey with it, with a couple 412s and one of those heads, and he sounded great. And so that's that one I'm most interested in because it's just different. Other than that, I've played maybe a rocker verb at like True Tone in Santa Monica. I haven't played them much though, to be honest. The little guy I did a review of, the little pedal amp, so that's on my channel. I have played that. Generally speaking, the way oranges are voiced, I find them a little bit in the low end, a little bit. I'm kind of more a Marshall guy, and they tend to voice them more like real full through the low mids and the, you know, a bit more. It's a different sound, you know, and a bit more like full range distortion or something. I don't know how to describe it, or just round and corpulent low end. You know, is that a word? Have you or will you ever have Phil X on Pete Thorn Live? I would love to. Phil's a little hard to pin down sometimes. Yeah, I'd love to do this with him though. So, and of course, I've done the videos where we got together at GitCon in Germany and did a couple of those together, which was really fun. So I'd love to. Maybe I'll hit him out. It's probably time to get some more guests on, isn't it? John with the super chat. Thank you, good sir. Christopher with the super chat. Thank you, good sir. Clean boost question. Set your gain dynamics pedals for your hottest output guitar with boost off. Boost on for single coil guitars without having to change pedal amp gain settings. You can do that. I mean, to me, yeah, some people use boosts to even out the volumes of different pickups. That's common with bass players. Because a bass player could have like a hollow body Hofner or a jazz bass or something, and then an active 5-string, and the outputs can be dramatically different. So you'll find sometimes that bass players with passive and active basses and stuff, they'll need to even out their sounds with a gain box of some sort. Not so common with guitar players, but you can do that. I mean, that was the whole goal of kind of the Seymour Duncan pickup booster, I guess. It's really just a boost that allows you to kind of fine tune the tone as well as like even out the sound of different pickups, I think. So whatever you feel like you need to do, man, there's no right or wrong way, where you put a boost in line. A boost could come before your overdrives to kick them and make them saturate more. It could come down chain from your overdrives to boost volume to make your solos louder without getting much gainier. So it really just depends. Some people use boosts in the effects loop of an amp to kind of bump up the volume and for a solo, loop. So it just depends on what you want to do. And all different kinds of ways to use boosts. The boost that I've got on my board right now, well, I've got a couple. I got the Unit 67, which is a colored boost that's way at the front end of my chain, and then also has some compression in it. And then I've got that Zeo boost all the way down at the end of the chain on my board, and that thing is more for its tonal character. It actually lops off some lows and kind of saturates the amp in an interesting way in the front end. So, I'm using boosts for different things. Yeah. Let's see here. What's this? Is there a high res cam shot we can get from the merch store to use as a video call background? The merch store. High res cam, like a cam, like what do you mean of the image that's on my shirts and stuff? I'm just not sure if that's what you mean or not. It's like kind of a, I don't know. I'd have to find the original image that I used. Yeah. What's this here? Do you lose anything with the switchable humbucker against a standard angled single coil pickup? Well, SSH. So a humbucker, they don't really, like a split humbucker. What you're saying, they don't really sound like a true single coil. They're made different. Like if you consider the that the magnet on a humbucker is usually under the pole pieces, excuse me, and you know, the wire gauge and all kinds of things can be different. Whereas a single coil, usually the magnets are the pole pieces, so it's a totally kind of different design. So they never sound quite the same to me. Do you lose anything? I mean, you might like the sound of a certain split humbucker. Most humbuckers split are weaker than your average single coil because, especially if they're PAFs, right? Because you got to consider, like, if a humbucker's, you know, a split PAF humbucker is going to be 4.7K or 4.8K or something like when it's split. And then with the pole pieces being, it's just kind of a totally different thing. That said, they can sound good. I mean, the people like gold foil pickups, and they're super weak. The Thornbucker neck, which is quite a weak pickup, when split, sounds really good to me, split. So it's never quite as I would say they never sound quite as like maybe full and juicy as a true single coil, but the basic character can be there with a split humbucker. And the parallel thing is, that's why I do that in the bridge, because they tend to be stronger still, but have it's not exactly the same sound, but they've got this great sound all their own. It's a great clarity. It kind of sounds less powerful and more clear, but not exactly like the twang of a single coil, because you're still sensing both coils are still working, but they're just wired in parallel. So like a different sound. So I tend to prefer that in the bridge, but the Thornbucker split in the neck was a nice surprise. I'll say that. I was expecting it maybe not to sound as good as it did when we first tried it. And I was like pleasantly surprised that it sounded quite good. I don't want to miss this. Did I miss a super chat? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I got them all. There's still one there that. Sure. Oh yeah, there's this one. Getting ready to build a pedalboard, about 8 pedals and a switch. Cool. Cables, power supply underneath or on top. I like the power supplies underneath. I think it's good to, you know, to put them there because it's more protected. And, you know, as much of the cables as you can kind of go underneath the board and then maybe have a bottom of some sort on the board is a good thing, I think, because it kind of protects all that stuff from spills and, you know, all the stuff that you would imagine could be a problem. Somebody throwing a beer across the stage or, you know, whatever, you know, just all those kinds of things. I think it's good to have the power supplies underneath. I was helping my old friend Melissa Etheridge is getting ready to go out and do dates, and she got a brand new pedal board that Friedman did that's really cool, and it's a flat kind of, I don't know, very strong but light sort of aluminum board, and then there's a shelf on it that has a hinge on it. You can lift it up, and that shelf has 3 Strymons on the top of it, and underneath there's more pedals, and the power supply is under there, so it's not underneath the board. On my board, like Dave's board, it's an angled so this isn't a Friedman board, even though Friedman did it. He's using these other boards sometimes. The Friedman boards are angled up, and you can put the power supplies underneath on the front edge because there's enough of an angle there that it lifts up enough. So that's the way my board is done. Most of the cables running underneath and everything, power supplies underneath, but they're not really accessible unless you flip the board over. On this new board of Melissa's, you can flip up this shelf that the 3 big Strymons are on, and underneath she's got some pedals under there, and there's a Voodoo Labs Mark III pedal power, and so that's a nice way to do it too. Really nice board she's getting. Actually, it's a very compact, and I like the design. It's an RJM switcher. But anyways, whether you do them underneath or under a shelf, I do think it's good to get the cables and the power supply out of the way as much as possible. Atomic Punk says that the pickup sounds amazing split, the Thornbucker. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Almost 300 folks online. Good to have you all here. Is there a hard and fast rule for what type of overdrive, hard or soft clipping pedals work best with humbuckers or single coil pickups? I don't think there's hard and fast rules with anything when it comes to guitar, to be honest. Generally speaking, a hard clipping is more like a distortion, and soft clipping is more like an overdrive, like a tube screamer or something. So, and the way that translates, I mean, you can almost think of it as harder sound or softer sound as well. Certainly hard clipping type drives sound more distorted usually, and they tend to have more of that Marshall in a box flavor, most of them, or modern kind of gain, whereas an overdrive can tend to be more like, the Jan Ray, be it a Klon, a Jan Ray, Timmy. Timmy's almost like somewhere in the middle to me, because they can almost sound like veering into a distortion if you get the gain way up. But I guess some pedals like hard and soft clipping, as you turn up the gain, they can probably kind of do both. I don't know technically. I've never looked on like an oscilloscope or whatever to see but it would be interesting to look at. That should be a cool YouTube video. Just look on a scope and see what the waveform looks like on the various different types of overdrives. It's pretty nerdy, but take 5 pedals and look at the way the waveform clips with them. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat there. As far as your question about humbuckers or single coils in particular, it just depends what you want to hear. I mean, soft clipping, single coils are brighter. Hard clipping distortions tend to be brighter. So maybe that's why, you see a lot of people with single coils veer towards soft clipping. But folks with single coils are also not usually playing metal. They're not usually playing as distorted and as, so, they're more like overdrive types. Folks with humbuckers could be a soft clipping type of people, blues, Les Paul kind of players, or more like metal players that want humbuckers. So, I think it's got more to do with that probably. That said, a pickup or a pedal like a BEOD or a Sir Riot or something, there's plenty of gain on tap, and there's enough range on the tone controls on both those pedals that you can make them work with single coils, no problem. There's probably plenty of examples of people out there using both those pedals with single coils, and getting good tones. Thoughts on the Viper Room shutting down? Was sad to read about it. Yeah. I mean, I've played there a lot, over the years. This is a club in LA that started out, as a venture with Johnny Depp, and I'm not sure who else owned it back then, but of course became quickly famous because River Phoenix died there quite young in 93 or so, not long after it opened. And kind of, just was that always had that sort of cloud hanging over it, I guess. But the club changed hands, and a good friend of mine, Tommy Black, has been a manager there and worked there for many, many, many years. And I've played there so many times and done, record company showcases and jams with Steve Stevens and Sebastian Bach. And I remember playing there with Chris Stills when he was just like 25 years old or something, Stephen Stills' son. I remember playing there with, so many jams and great shows I saw there, like, Steel Panther, that used to be their residency before they got bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was really fun to go see them in that little place before they moved to the Roxy and then just started doing big gigs after that. What else at the Viper Room? It's a real dead stage. Great place to play though. The curtain would open up and you see your friends out there. It's not big. It's little. It was always a good vibe. Lots of fun. Lots of trouble. Getting lots of trouble there over the years. It's where my 335 got a headstock break, come to think of it. When somebody bumped into it on the sidewalk outside and it went over in the case, and I opened up the case and the headstock was, so the second headstock break that guitar suffered was at the Viper Room. A lot of memories there. Some good, some not so good. Lots of parking tickets, because parking in West Hollywood is screwed up. Had my record release party there, come to think of it, for Pete Thorn 2, down in the room downstairs. Yeah, so I guess I'm melancholy about it. A lot of history in that room, going all the way back to the 90s for me. That said, let's see what they do. I remember seeing Richie Kotzen play there before it was the Viper Room, because I'm that old. So 92, 91, maybe it was 90. I moved there in 90. I think I moved there in 90, and that was one of the first things I did going out was see Richie play. I heard he was playing. The club was called the Central back then. It was a real hole in the wall. And so with that said, it was something before. I was in that room before. It was the Viper Room. Now it's the Viper Room. It's going to become a 12-story hotel apartment complex, I think, with a club in it and a recording studio, evidently. So maybe it ends up being cool. Maybe there's a new venue that comes out of it. That's cool. I hope so. I hope that it, at least I heard that, and at least I was like, well, at least they're maybe trying to preserve, not just put up some fancy condo and just get rid of, if there's actually a music venue in there, that's cool. And then there's a recording studio and it's cool. And it's like, maybe they call it the Viper Room again or something or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's something new, but maybe it's, I don't know. I would feel worse about the Whiskey or the Roxy, I think, even though I've had more fun at the Viper Room, just because the Whiskey and the Roxy are so iconic and been around longer. Maybe if I had been, like, it's like I'm saying, I was in the place before it was the Viper Room and it was a different club. So it's like, well, it's going to become something else now, once again. So, things change. The one that would be really sad to me is if the Rainbow ever closes. I don't want the Rainbow to ever close, because in a city that's as transient as LA, with things changing, that block, the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Rainbow, I just hope they're just there forever. And they should be some sort of historical, because everybody from the Doors to Van Halen, just so many people playing at the Whiskey and then the Roxy and then hanging at the Rainbow. Of course, that place just legendary. So we don't ever want that to go away. That would be it'd just be a shame for LA. I understand that things march on and development and all that, and things change and neighborhoods change, but it's like, yeah, you got to have some sort of, historical, this is where a lot of music came from. So it's almost like, it's like when the Cavern Club went away in Liverpool, and then they end up rebuilding it. And that whole street now in Liverpool is like a tourist attraction, and the Cavern's not the original Cavern. It's like built like, like, I don't know, it's something like 12 meters away is the new entrance for where they rebuilt. And they used a lot of the original brick and stuff and built it, but it's not the original Cavern, it's like just a little bit down the block. And because I guess the original one wasn't safe to, when they closed the Cavern Club, for those that don't know. Of course, the Cavern's where the Beatles played like 200 and something times, almost close to 300 gigs or something before they became famous. 1973, they closed the Cavern Club in Liverpool for development of a new like a parking garage or something, or maybe there's supposed to be an underground train or something, but I heard it was a parking garage. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They closed the club for this city development. So short-sighted. Sure, the Beatles were only broken up like 3 years at that point. Maybe people didn't know, like, I don't know. Like, you just think, like, what were they thinking? Like, how could they let that happen? And now it's that whole street is just a Beatles tourist attraction. I guess it wasn't like that in 73. I guess maybe it was like, oh, whatever, like the Beatles, yeah, they just, like it broken up a few years earlier or something. Maybe there wasn't this reverence right at that point or something. Maybe the world had moved on a bit from the 60s into the 70s. And then all of a sudden, everybody, like all this nostalgia as we get more into it. And John Lennon dies and all that, it's kind of weird to think about. It's like, what happened in 73 in Liverpool? What led up to them thinking that would be a good decision? Now there's Beatles museums, different ones, and Beatles tours. You can get on multiple different companies run buses that go by Paul McCartney's house where he grew up, and, strawberry fields. And, so it's just like, who thought it'd be a good idea to let the Cavern ever go away? Crazy. So anyways, it's interesting, they're just putting up fancy condos. It's going to be condos, but there's going to be I heard there's going to be a music venue as well as a recording studio in the building. So if there's a music venue, maybe they're trying to, I don't know, maybe they're not getting the messaging right, because if they're going to develop the block and they're going to at least, you know, still have a live music venue, because that's what really meant to me. The Viper Room's really cool. It's been around a long, long time. It's been around almost 30 years, but it's not the whiskey and it's not the rainbow, you know, as far as being a since the 60s kind of place. It was built in the 90s. It was cool. But you know what I'm saying. So if as long as there's still a venue there, yes, we'll miss it. But if there's a venue and it's a great venue, it's like, whoa, hey, this is, you know, there's another place for bands to play here. If we're not losing a space, if they're at least trying to keep, you know what I'm saying? Mixed use is kind of common now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, as long as they develop it into something where musicians can still go play, and maybe it's even better, you know, I don't know. CBGB's, Paul says he played CBGB's once. Yeah, that's another, you know, at least there's a Varvatos store there now where there's still a stage and they still have bands play sometimes. It's not CBGB's anymore, but at least there's somebody in there that seems to appreciate music a little bit and has gigs. I mean, like Cheap Trick played in there and stuff, right? It's like, it's not CBGB's, but it's not a flower shop either, you know. It's at least it's a cool rock and roll clothing store, and the guy has gigs in there sometimes, you know. I don't know. Without history, you lack culture. Yeah. Or the Troubadour. Agreed. Yeah. The Troubadour, that would be a real shame if it ever went away. These places should be protected because they're part of, you know, West LA history. My friend Tommy actually asked me that works at Viper Room, is also a musician, and I used to be in a band with him called Sparkler many years ago. He asked me to do something with him recently, and it's going to be filmed at the Viper Room, obviously, before it gets raised. So I will be doing something there in the next few weeks, and it's for West Hollywood tourism or something. And so we're going to play a song. They're going to film it. I don't know what it's going to end up being, a commercial of some sort of something. But I said, of course, yeah, I'll do that. And part of the decision was like, well, one more thing in the Viper Room, you know, before it goes away. We'll take some photos and stuff and whatever, you know. But yeah, the Troubadour would be a difficult one to see go away as well. I agree. Okay. What else we got here? There's Nerd Halen says, great meeting you at the Mammoth Wolf Van Halen show. Yeah, it was great. Nice to meet you as well. And we had a nice hang. And Wolf sounded great. That's one thing I did this week, was go to that show and saw Wolf's band, along with Dirty Honey. And Wolf killed it. He seemed like he was having a great time and had a lot to say about what a great show it was. You know, great hometown gig. And so it's cool. It was fun night for sure. Been going out more lately. Tommy played with Scott Weiland. Yes, he did. He was bass player with Scott Weiland up till he passed away. Yeah, Tommy was in a bit. So I was in a band with Tommy in the 90s called Sparkler. That's where we met. He great bass player and great guy, like very bright guy. Really funny, great sense of humor. One of my oldest friends in LA, I guess. And don't get to see him enough anymore, but a really good dude. Where's your red Sir Classic S? I have it right here. It's just over there. Been wanting to actually switch out the bridge pickup that I have in there right now, because I was playing around with things and in my pickup experimentation over the last year or so. And I think I want to switch out what I've got in it because I'm not crazy about it. So I haven't been using it that much. It doesn't have an SSC in it, and I also might get that put in. So I've been kind of favoring playing for a hum single. I've been favoring playing the silver one, you know, the new, it's back there on the stand right there. That or the EMG guitar, because the EMG guitars are quiet and stuff, and then that guitar, just been having a blast with it. It's actually also rather quiet as well. What we got here? Best way to get the best from modeler going through tube amp. PS100 into a 412. That's one way to do it. Amp or PS100 effects loop. I mean, there's so many different ways to do this that I don't know. I would have to try them all. A PS100 is a pretty flat power amp. It's probably a pretty good way to go if you're going to run a modeler. And yeah, just right into the, you know, the line input, and then use the power amp in it into a cabinet and just disable the cab sims. Or you can of course run a second I personally, I will say if you're playing live and doing that, I still think the best thing to do is do the 2 effect chain thing where you've got, or the 2 output thing, I should say, where right at the end you run one side with going to the speaker simulated output, out to the PA, and then the other one doesn't have the speaker simulator and it just goes out to the PS100 in the cab, not miking, because I always get better results using IRs these days in the PA. I still love to have a cab on stage, but I sort of think unless you're really sophisticated with the way that you mic and really consistent with it, I enjoy using IRs more in the PA. It always sounds better. It's just like, I'm totally sold on them as far as a way to get sound to the PA. And it'd be really clean and consistent and really good while still having a cab on stage to flap the pants. And this is a very hybrid kind of thing that I'm doing, I guess, with that, but I quite enjoy that, So you see a lot of metal guys do that. Like, I think that's what, what's the band, 3 Days Grace, my buddy Al mixes that band, kind of a modern rock band or whatever, active rock, band. And I know the guitar player is using like Kemper into cabinets, still using cabinets on stage, that kind of thing. You see a lot of people doing that these days with the metal kind of crowd doing that. The pop folks are just plugging Kempers straight in direct and not doing any cabs. That's not as much fun to me, but I guess it works for that style of music. Can you let me know what you think the best musicians' earplugs are? I've had West Tones with the 15 dB filters. They're pretty cool. My in-ears are those almost like an active earplug where you put them in and then they've got the mics in them and you turn those down. That's my favorite kind of earplug because that at least still sounds. It's if you look up ASI monitors, they're made by it's a division of Sensophonics. It's basically like having an active earplug. In-ear monitors go in your ear, they seal. And then they've got mics in them, and you can turn the mics up to any level you want. That's a real kind of sophisticated way. If you're just talking about a passive earplug, there's these ones like Eargasm or something they're called, I think. You see them on Instagram and stuff. You could get those, I guess, and try them. I don't know how good those are, to be honest, compared to the West Tones are good. I used to use the 9 dB filters as opposed to the 15 because I felt like the 15 was too much. But you go to the audiologist and see what they've got, find a good audiologist that can do molds for you, test your hearing and stuff, and they'll have some that they can offer you. And generally it's around, they'll be $100 or something, and it might, with the hearing exam, depends, could be $100 to $200, to get a custom set of molds with a hearing exam and with the earplugs themselves. And you can order different, like with the West Tones, you can order different filters. And so you could have a set of 15 dB ones you can just pop in, or 9 dB ones you can just pop in, or 25 dB ones you can pop in. They've got different, different rated ones. I used to use them more. They worked pretty good. I lost them. I don't even know where my West Tones are, to be honest now. They're probably in like my backpack somewhere in a pocket or something on the side, or I zipped them on it. I just can't remember where the hell I put them, but I'd have to get some more. But I did used to use them going out to gigs sometimes and stuff. And, I found the one thing that I quite liked with those earplugs was that I could hear people talking clearer to me in loud environments. So if I was in a noisy gig or something, people are yelling at one another, they're trying to talk to you. If I had those in with the 9 dB filters, it's almost like they filtered out all the crap, and I could hear when somebody would lean into my ear and yell like they always do. It wouldn't hurt because I've got a plug in. And also I could hear what they were saying clearer, so that was kind of nice. And even in a noisy club or something where there wasn't a band playing, I could hear people talking with those things in easier. So look at the West Tone ones. Alnico Cream mixing it with a V30 or Greenback or Greenback 75. I mean, I would look at the efficiency. I don't know what the efficiency of an Alnico Cream is, but I assume a Greenback is lower. Efficiency is like, if it's 97 for a Greenback, if it's 99 for an Alnico Cream, it might work okay. But if you get beyond that 2 dB difference in efficiency, I find that it starts to get weird. Let me see here if let me look at Celestion. remember what's really quick here and see about the efficiency of an Alnico Cream, because I think it's 99 for a V30. I've got a super chat there for $4.99. I'm going to get right back to that in just 2 seconds here. I'm not going to miss it, I promise. But I am just curious what the efficiency difference is between a Alnico Cream and I'm just on the Celestion website here. All right, so a greenback, what actually says it's 98. I thought it was not 97. That might be for the Heritage greenback. So see, now G12H anniversary is 100 dB sensitivity. So that's going to be, substantially louder. A Ruby is, Celestion Ruby is 100 dB. Let me look at the next page here and see what a Creamback is 100 dB sensitivity. G12H 75 Creamback. So that'll balance well with a V30 or, oops. A little too far here on the pages. I'm just going to go back here. A-type is 90. Ooh, an A-type is actually, is it 98 or 96? 98. An A-type's the same as a greenback. Neo Creamback is 97. That makes a lot of sense to me, because the Neo Creamback is the speaker that I quite like, that sounds kind of like a Warning Greenback, but it is softer sounding. I tried them and wanted to like them for the PT15 cabinet, but I always felt like it sounded like not quite powerful enough, because it's only a 15-watt amp. So I felt like we needed more push out of the speaker, which is why we ended up with the 98 dB greenback and the 100 dB sensitivity V30. Okay, I'm just looking here to see if I can find real quick, and then I'll stop doing this. I want to see if I can find the Cream, but I'm just not seeing it on here. We know it's here somewhere. We just don't know where. Oh, there it is. Celestion Cream is 100 dB. So you're good there to try that with. That might work well with I would probably try it with something like a Creamback H75. I think that might be nice. If you want a greenback character, the G12H 150 Redback has a warmer kind of sort of greenback-esque quality. They'll handle 150 watts too, so it's a real powerful speaker. That'll give you some options. For a 212, the Redback with a Alnico Cream, maybe. I'm completely speculating here, but those would be the two that I would probably try. I'd probably try the Redback and the G12H 75 Creamback coupled with an Alnico Cream and see which one you like. I don't know. Report back. You be the guinea pig. Let us know what you think. Rich, morning phase or Euphoria morning? You have to pick one. That's terrible. Damn it. Oh, those are two of my favorite albums. And they're both so, I mean, these are superlative, exceptional pieces of art. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm gonna mull on that for just a second, Rich. That's tough. That's tough. That's really tough. It would have been cool to hear Beck collaborate with Cornell. That would have been really cool. I wonder if they ever met one another or hung out or anything. Thank you, TN, for the super chat. Thanks to both you guys for the super chats. I appreciate it. I'm going to think about that Euphoria morning versus morning face. Have you tried to mic a 412 cab with some of the speakers removed for different tones? No, I think that would be weird. I know somebody that did that. Kind of does a weird thing to the bass or something. I don't know. I'm not that geeky enough to try. You know. I think people think that I experiment with gear more than I actually do. It's just part of like what I do here. But I mainly like kind of going, oh, let's try this pedal. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Plug it in this amp. Let's get a sound. Okay, now, and then I'll come up with a part. Like, that's kind of how I do it. You know how people say sometimes, like, about my pedal videos, they're like, but you make everything sound good. It's like, well, I think there's almost good sounds to be had in everything. So you just have to mess with it enough, and then you can get a good sound. So maybe I'm more that, like, I'm not like always searching for the perfect tone. I'm more like, let's plug this in, this and this and this in, and let's make those things sound good. You know? So I'm not constantly experimenting with like different things. I have a lot of toys to experiment. I'm contradicting myself a little bit because I do have a lot of stuff I like to play with, but it's like, I won't endlessly search for some magic. Like, I'm not like Eric Johnson or something sitting there moving my pedals on my pedal board trying to find, if I set my Echoplex just 30 degrees a bit more to the left, it sounds different with the amp. No. Or trying different types of 9-volt batteries or something, you know. That's not really my bag. Does that make sense? I hope so. My son Hunter loves your guitar work. Thanks, Duncan. Plexico, what's up, man? I appreciate that. I think that's you, right? We got 380 people online. What's up, rockers? Great to have you all here. What are your thoughts on the Dirty Shirley, says Randy? I think it's a really, really good amp. As a matter of fact, I think my two favorite amps that Dave makes are probably the Dirty Shirley and the Small Box. So they veer a little bit more in the vintage, direction, 50 watt, that kind of thing. Like, the Dirty Shirley is a very, very nice sounding amp. It sounds great clean too. One of my favorite things to do is actually use the plug-in for the Dirty Shirley, the Brainworks version, with the master on 10, and then bring the gain up to like 2. And you can put all the tone controls on 5, and it's just a beautiful clean sound for, if I'm doing that's just something I'll do for stereo pedals a lot. I will run, both the left and right output into both inputs on my Apollo interface and pull up those 2 plugins on 2 channels. Sometimes I do it with the PT100 as well, but the Dirty Shirley works. It pulls up the Brainworks version of the Dirty Shirley pulls up with an open back Friedman 112, and just however it's set or whatever. Once again, I don't like messing around that much. It's like, if you can get a great sound. So it's like, I'll pull that up and put the master on 10, the gain on 2, maybe boost the treble and presence just from 5 to 6 or something, and that's it. And then, like, I'll hard pan those 2 channels. I'll do that on 2 channels in my DAW with that exact same setting on the virtual amp, and then run a stereo delay or like a rotary pedal into or something. Try it. Tell me it's not amazing. It sounds great. I've done that on a lot of videos for stereo pedals. Really, really great. So, yeah. This is an interesting subject. Tubes are going to be in demand now with the war going on. There's a little bit of uncertainty about that right now, I will say. Maybe more than a little bit. So we will see. It's an interesting subject. A lot of tubes come from Russia. So, of course, anything coming out of reflector, So it's a little gray area right now. What's happening with that? Let's see. Since you use your power station, it appears at all times. Do you have to change the tubes a bunch? I think you're saying like it appears on a lot. I did have to go change the power tubes once on it, actually. They started to hum a little bit. So I took it over to Fryette, and they put new tubes in it for me and biased it or whatever, and did what they had to do to. But yeah, it runs pretty hot. I mean, and I use it pretty hard. So probably one of those things that I need to look at doing tubes every, 6 or 8 months or something, and just to make sure it's working right. I know Steve, it's like the power station PS100. That's what I've got, and he likes to get, he likes to run things kind of hot, I think, and hard, and like get like 100 watts out of a pair of tubes if he can, which is kind of a tall order, I think, from an engineering. He does it, but it's like, so it's in kind of a compact, thing. So I haven't really had any problems with it, other than when the tubes started to hum and I had to go get some new ones. So he fixed it up for me, and it's fine now. But I'm not an engineer, so that's all I'll say about that. But it seems to work really well. But yeah, I did go through one set of power tubes. Indeed. Let's see. I just tried to buy some 6L6 at Sweetwater. Was sold out of most. Had to compromise. Yeah. You may try. What I would recommend is TAD, Tube Amp Doctor. Check out the Red Bass 6L6 and EL34 from them. They're not inexpensive. The Red Bass EL34s, I think, around $80 for a pair. But they are, from what I understand, a tube that's made for TAD. Works with, various, a little bit like groove tubes used to be, where they would get, JJ to make a certain tube just for them or something or whatever, kind of commission and then order a whole bunch of them. So they've done that as well with, I believe the tubes are coming from PS Vane, which is a Chinese company. So TAD has a sort of an exclusive thing, I guess, on a couple of, so they got a Red Bass 6L6 and a Red Bass EL34. Check those out. I think they also have an EL84. Maybe not any 12AX7s, but at least for power tubes, give it, look at the TAD, Tube Amp Doctor website. Little tip for you there. Help you out in your search to get the tube tones. T-top. Do you hear an audible difference between the Fryat PS2 and PS100? Very, very close. I thought the PS100 was a slight improvement, actually. Maybe not enough to, if you've already made the investment, you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy another one. I'm basically happy. Rock your PS2. But the PS100 did sound even maybe a little flatter to me, like a little more like the amp with nothing in line, just maybe even a little more. A little bit of an improvement somehow. Yeah, quite like it. Okay, a couple super chats here. Jay Zucker. Thanks for the super chat, man. Thanks for being an invaluable resource over the years. I am intrigued by the Source Audio Zio. Where did you place it in your pedal chain? I put it right at the end. So it was like the last pedal in front of the amp. So loop 9 or something, I think, in my loops. Yeah, and it works great there. You could also use it, depending on, I was using it to hit the front end of my amp. But kind of harder to distort it. If you've got a distortion pedal and you want to saturate it, you could also use it in front of that, like a Riot or something, or, to get kind of the same effect that I was doing if you use more clean amp distortion pedal. Or you could run it at the end of your chain and use it as a volume boost more. So these guys are saying, just don't panic buy. Yeah, no need to panic buy, but you will find, I'm just saying, you will find that if you try and buy right now, they're going to be out of stock on a lot of stuff. There's a reason for that. Because what you would expect. That's just the reality. So yeah, no reason to panic buy. But what I would recommend doing is honestly looking at what I just was mentioning. There is another tube out there, which is these exclusives that, for the time being, the PS Vane thing that Tube Amp Doctor has. See if I'll look it up here real quick. Let's see, TAD. No, that's not what I want. I wanted to find their, tubeampdoctor.com. Okay. I'm going to take a photo of this just so you can see this. If you go to their website, you will see this. Sorry, I'm going to move something on my screen here. And that, you can't even see that, can you? But it says TAD Red Bass Family, and then there's a picture of some 6L6s there, and that's like right on their. It says the new EL34 standard, manufactured in a new TAD exclusive production facility. I don't know if that's true or not. If it's exactly like there, it's It's a tube factory in China. In-your-face tone with just the right amount of energy. Harmonic top end, classic EL34 mid-range punch. First choice by world-leading amp builders. Okay. Basically, it's a it's like I say, they've got the EL34. They've got this TAD 606 GCM STR red bass, our latest 606 designed and built to claim to be the best 606 ever manufactured. A damn high claim, they say on the website, but we are sure we have achieved exactly that. Yeah. So you will find, if you go to their website, just look for these red bass tubes and get some 606s and some EL34s, and no need to panic buy. Just buy a few, and away you go. Thank me later. Or if they mess up, I won't be here. Don't look for me. No, they're supposed to be good, as far as I know. What 606 should I put in my power station? The answer is whatever you can get. No, honestly, I would go probably get some of these TADs and try them out. Get a matched, tested, matched pair and give them a try, because they're probably a pretty good choice at this point. Yeah. Okay, what else have we got here? Do you know if the Boss tube amp expander can be used as a power amp for the Kemper stage? If it has a line input on it, I guess you could. I don't know if it does or not. It's got an effect loop, right? I would think you could at least plug into the loop return coming out of like the output of the Kemper and then use it. I don't know. As long as there's a line input on the Boss. I don't have one here, so yeah. What else we got here? Steven, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it, my friend. Unforgiven from Morning Phase is my funeral song. Yeah. Something unforgiven. That's such a beautiful song. I will wait for you. Oh, man. I was like, yeah, I'm hearing it in my head right now. I just got the chills. I just got the chills from a song that I'm thinking about in my head. I can't pick Morning Phase over Euphoria Morning, but give me a break. It's one of the coolest records I've ever heard in my life. It was my example for, it's 2013 that it came out. This is a Beck album called Morning Phase. If you haven't listened to it, I think it's one of the best records ever. But when people would say like, there's no good music, I'd be like, listen to this freaking record. And you come back and talk to me about a week after you've given it 5 good listens. It's so gorgeous. Yeah. What's this? Just found and bought an old custom audio ST100. Just amazingly great amp. Did that later become the PT? Not really. The ST100, I don't know exactly that amp. There was many different versions of so the OD100 evolved into different things. The OD100 was the amp that John Suhr designed with for Bradshaw at Custom Audio. And it evolved into different things with, he would do different mods and different, gain circuits and stuff like that on channel 2. Many of them have a very similar clean channel, I think, but it would be the drive channel that was different. And I'm not sure about the ST100. There was 606 versions. There was EL34 versions. The ones I'm mostly familiar with, and the one I tried previous to the PT100 and what kind of got modded into a PT100 loosely was the OD100 Classic Plus, I believe. And so the Classic Plus was the most sort of closest to what the PT100, I think, because it was EL34 and it was a bit more martially, I think, on, like generally speaking, power amp design and stuff. So the Classic Plus I tried and I was like, this amp's pretty cool. I wish it was a bit more like this, this, and this. And then John did his thing and then came up with the PT100. Daniel, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Look at the tubes. I was just going to say in that ST100, I bet it's 6L6s. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might be a 5881 or 606 kind of power tube situation. How do you go about positioning the AT4050 and SM57 on the cab, both on one speaker or 2 separate speakers? I have them on 2 separate speakers because I'll tell you why. The main reason is because I have a on the speaker with the 57, it's on a Dynamount mic mount, and that is kind of takes up the whole speaker because it's got an X and a Y axis with the mic mounted on this thing that moves around. I can move it anywhere on that speaker back and forth. If this is the speaker, you know, you're literally able to, but it's on a stand that's got a big, you know, it's like a track going this way and then a track going this way. I did a video on it if you want to watch it. But so long story short, I would have to put, if I was going to put the 4050, which is pretty big itself, on that speaker, I would have to put it in kind of a weird position to avoid the 57. And so I mic two speakers instead, which works fine, you know. Any tips on getting great sound from that combination? Not really. I mean, other than you kind of want to phase align them. So don't have them, you know, like, yeah, generally speaking, the capsule in a 57 is about where the writing is on the, so where it says Unidyne or whatever they say on a 57, you know, around the edge. Sure, SM57, whatever they say, you know, there's printing around that's about where the capsule is inside the microphone. So if you think about that and kind of then think about where you see the capsule on a condenser mic on the inside, generally speaking, the 57 will have to be probably like a little bit forward to align the printing with the capsule of the condenser. Do you know what I mean? Because there's about this much space on the end of a 57, you know, with the dust cap or whatever on a, what do you call it? The pop filter, excuse me, on a microphone. You know, the end of the 57 has about that much space before you hit the capsule. So just keep that in mind and kind of try and align the capsules of the two microphones. And then beyond that, it's just how close you want to go from the center of the of the speaker and then out towards the edge, you know, when you're thinking about. And generally speaking, a good place to start is right around where the cap meets the cone, you know, so where the cap, the center part of the speaker, and then you got the big cone of the speaker, right about there. You can kind of start there, and you might find it's too bright, and then you want to move out into the cone more. Now, if you find it's really too bright and you just keep moving out and it's not changing enough for you, try angling that. If this is the 57 and the mic's pointed right at it, try angling the microphone out into away from the center of the speaker. So, you know, if that's the edge and this is the thing and the mic's here, just try angling it like out towards the edge of the speaker a little bit. And I mean, a little bit makes a big difference. If you want more brightness and cut, you can angle it in towards the cap. And this is stuff that I find really, you know, it's super easy to do with the Dynamount because I can just do it from sitting in front of my desk. It's all, you know, connected via Bluetooth from my desk right here. And I can move that microphone anywhere I want. It's amazing to have that. The condenser, generally speaking, is more forgiving. A 57, a dynamic mics, they tend to be really sensitive to placement. You know, you move it a little bit, and it's like, oh wow, it's really changed. Back, forward, you know, different parts of the speaker. A condenser, maybe it's just that the capsule's bigger or something. It's more, I don't know, but I find them more forgiving and flatter. They're less, they impart less of a character on the sound and sound a little bit more like the speaker cab in a room, even when they're right up on the speaker. Anybody else out there find that? I find that with ribbon mics too, that they're just a little more forgiving with placement. Although ribbon mic can get pretty dark if it gets too far out to the edge. And also they can just get a little woolly sounding. And they're also, you know, kind of the proximity, getting them close to speaker can sound a little weird. It's a little tougher with a ribbon mic than it is with a condenser. Probably the easiest mic to get a good sound of, I'm finding these days, probably a condenser, like as far as just sounding like the cab in a room. But people like that sonic thing that a 57 does, or that a 409 does, or you know, the different 421. They like that character that they impart on the, because they do put a big stamp on the sound. So, you know, their own character. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here, guys? Another super chat up there. You guys are too kind. Thanks for all the super chats. Keep me fueled up here with the coffee. Just delicious. Got a couple guitars with Goto 510s. One, sir, they don't return to pitch without regular lube. Wondering if you've experienced this. Yes. If locking saddles help with return to pitch. Yes. That's why I went with the new bridge. You probably find, like me, that even if you set the guitar up, stretch it out really good, lube the nut, the whole 9 yards, that the strings that don't come back in pitch are the E and the G. Do you find that? I wonder. Those are the ones that I have the hardest time with on a traditional type tremolo. Some guitars better than others. You know, ironically, one of my guitars that stays in tune the best is my old Strat, my 64. I've got the bridge set up with the quite angled. It's original bridge, original saddles. That guitar, pretty good. But I'm not doing dive bombing with it, but it works pretty good. Just depends. But what happens is that because of the gauge of the string and because of the tension of both the E and the G, those are the strings most prone to kind of, as you dunk the bar, to lifting up off the saddle. They kind of have the least amount of tension just because of the note that they're tuned to and the gauge that they are. So you drop the tremolo, and you know, when you think about the last string, the G, the lowest pitched of the 3 unwound, right? And it's, you know, the note that it's tuned to, it's kind of the lightest tension, and it just has the most tendency to kind of lift off the saddle a little bit if you dunk the bar enough. And then when you bring the bar back, it can just not be exactly in the same place. Like it'll make contact with the saddle and pull back and be in a little bit different position. That's at least the theory. As soon as you put the lock saddle on, you know, that string does not move in that saddle anymore. It's locked to the saddle and it just stays in the exact same position. So as long as you're not as good and you're not getting any friction there, it's, you know, my silver guitar, I had a couple issues with it. We just had to tweak the nut on it and stuff and just get it totally dialed in. And when it's just right, as it is now, that guitar stays in tune. It's like a Floyd Rose. It's like, don't need, you know, it's pretty amazing, like how the tuning stability on it. And it's got the, you know, the Wilkinson bridge with the lock saddles. It's a little more work. It's a little, you know, you have to lock the string in the saddle. You got to make sure that screw is cinched up on those lock saddles quite tight, you know, lock it in the saddle real good. Yeah. It's the reason why the issue you're having is the reason why I switched from 510s, you know. It's not a bad bridge or anything. It's just the nature of the beast, I think. Yorkshire Guitar Dan, thank you, good sir, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Braxall says, tube amp doctor in Germany, do they add value added tax and stuff? How long does it take to get here? I don't know. They don't have VAT in Germany. That's a British thing, I think, isn't it? I think. These are questions I just don't know. But the tubes in a power station are 6550s, as far as I know. So, you know, it's not a 6L6. So unless you've got a PS2, different power station. So, hey Pete, been a while since I joined in. Hope all is well. I'm doing okay, considering the state of the world. You know, how many people call you Peter? Not that many. And what happens when you punch them out? You know, if somebody calls me Peter, it's generally because they're mad at me, or you know, or it'll be like, you know, I don't know, the power company calling. May I speak to Peter Thorn, please? You haven't paid your bill. No, that doesn't happen. But my parents, you know, when I think about my dad, he used to call me Peter if he was mad at me. You know why I became Pete? Because Peter Thorn at mac.com, that was an email that I was trying to get years ago, and that was taken. So all my emails became, you know, my email address. I had to use Pete Thorn instead. That was what it was. And it was like also for like internet logins and stuff like that. It was like there's a fella in Denmark, Peter Thorn, and he had all the emails that I wanted, you know. So I couldn't sign up for them because it was like, somebody's already taken them. It's a long story, but I ended up meeting him years later at a gig. He came to a gig. I met this guy. It was weird meeting somebody with the same name as you, but he was very nice. He was a college student at the time. And you know, people thought that he was me, and I was starting to get a little bit of notoriety. I was playing with like Cornell and different people at the time, and I would hear like people say like, "Oh, you know, I tried to send you an email, and you know, you never responded." And this guy in Denmark was getting a lot of my emails. So anyway, I went with Pete because it was like there were still available emails and stuff like that I could get. That, you know, it's probably not that uncommon of a name, Peter Thorn. You know, so people were using them up and stuff. So, but Pete, it's like Pete Townsend. He's Peter Townsend, isn't he? But somehow he became Pete. Is that another super chat? I think it is. You guys, too kind. Too kind. I'm trying to highlight it, but it's not working. There we go. Thank you for all your time. Support for your coffee. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How about now? We got sound now? Muted. Let me see. Check, check. What is happening? Check, check, check. I think it's supposed to be working now. Is it working now, guys? Back. Yep, got sound. Great. I think that was operator error. I think I pulled the cable out of my... It's a USB cable on the bottom of my Samsung microphone. And it just come out somehow. I don't know. I must have bumped into it with the mouse or something. It's because my desk is too crowded. Oh, my messy work area. Do you guys have that problem? Like just stuff? I have this thing where with clutter where it's like I have problems putting it away. Like, oh, well, it's just, you know, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to clean up my desk. And then I just kind of shuffle things around. But I don't like put it somewhere. What the hell's the matter with me? You probably just had to dip the mic in rice. That's it. Sorry about that. Okay. There's a super chat there that I'm going to try and get back to. If I can. Everybody's telling me no sound, no sound. So the super chat so far back. Where is it there? Is it this fella? Yes. Trevor. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's get back to guitar now. Gary says you need a woman's touch in there. Do you ever sharpen your picks? I do not. I throw them away if they get all screwed up. I hate when picks get weird edges on them. My picks are Ultex, the 73s. I've used them for years. I like kind of messing around with other types of guitar picks sometimes, but that's a great all-arounder sort of pick that I've just been very comfortable with using over the years. So let's try and get one here, but my crowded desk is just falling all over the place. So that's my pick. It's a black Ultex. When they started doing them for James Hetfield in black, I got some. Pete Thorn, look at that. See, it doesn't even say Peter on the pick. It says PeteThorn.com. Anyway, these I find last quite a long time. It's funny when I started doing the Van Halen gig. Rehearsing for that with Mitch, I started using the Eddie picks for that because they just felt right for they're very thin. They're like a 60 nylon, just, I don't know. So I got used to those for a minute. I don't know what else I've got in here that I tend to, for acoustic, I like a nylon, generally speaking. I don't know if I've got any in here or not. I'm sure I do somewhere, but I like the nylon gray, like the 73s or the 60s. Well, I guess kind of similar to this Van Halen pick, actually, just without the Van Halen on them. Like, this would work well for acoustic, actually, the Van Halen picks. They just sound a little bit softer. I mainly got my picks in here. I don't have a lot of other ones right now. I like the Paul Gilbert pick, Ibanez. It's a kind of a full size, but a bit pointier end, and those feel great for fast picky stuff. They sound really good to me, like very sort of defined, single notes. The Jazz 3 Altex says Janice, the pea-colored yellowish ones. They're awesome. Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try anything once. I used to use Jazz 3s for a while. I just find them too small for me, generally speaking. And I used stubbies for a while. I enjoyed those. Any Van Halen tracks that you are currently learning to play? Not well, actually, sort of, because I'm doing a cover with Mitch. So I won't spoil it by telling you what it is, but yeah, that's the first Van Halen I've tackled in a while, actually. I kind of gave it a rest after doing that gig because I worked really hard learning like the 23, 24 Van Halen songs. I was like, okay, I need a little Van Halen break. But yeah. About to pull the trigger on a PT-15IR head because it seems to be the perfect bedroom studio option, but I'm cursed with buying and the new version coming out just after. Should I wait? No, there's no new version coming right now, right behind. So don't worry about that. It's been, like, technically speaking, the last couple of years has been a tough time for amp manufacturers, for electronics manufacturers, for development and stuff like that. The supply chain thing and stuff. It's just been a difficult time. So, and I'm still rocking the PT-15. I just use it on my whole tour. So, yep. Do popular pedals go out of style? EP Booster. I don't think so. I think people just don't talk about them as much, or maybe what it is everybody that's going to get one gets one. That's what I find. I mean, when you make gear and you're out there and you're seeing kind of the trend of things, there's always a certain, there's a period of time where it's real popular and everybody's talking about it, and not as many people are talking about it. And I think, generally speaking, what happens is, like, I think that there's just a saturation, and then people want to move on to something else. And then everybody that buys one, everybody wants one, kind of gets one, and then it just tapers off. And then you'll still see sales and things like that of, certain pedals or things that some very few become a classic. And then what you need to do is offer sort of variations on a theme. TS-808, TS-9, TS-10, TS-5 sound tank. You see that happen, right? With the different, or they TS-9X turbo or something, or they'll do a different look or a different, Speaking of which, I should show you this tube screamer I have here. They brought this out. I'm going to assume I can show you this because I never got the official word that was okay for me to show you this, but look at this thing. This was a 40th anniversary tube screamer, and I was supposed to show it, but I just didn't know if it was okay to show it. But anyway, I don't think anybody's, I think it's okay to show that. You guys, have you guys seen this? Look at that. Just look at it. It's a tube screamer, but it's red. It's very red, and it's beautiful. So anyways, they sent me one of those, but this is kind of what they'll do, different, different look, different. Yeah. But it's not green, says Stealth Parrot. I know. Travis says, if I learned one Van Halen song a week, I'd need a break. If you learned one a week, that would actually be a great, you learn 4 a month. Just imagine, within 6 months, you'd have, the first, 4 or 5 albums learned probably, and it'd be amazing. You could join a cover band. No, it's good for your playing. I had a really good time learning all those Van Halen songs, and it was really good for my playing. You needed a Van Halen break. I kind of did. I mean, after learning all those songs, I did nothing but play Van Halen for like about a month. I just worked on Van Halen all the time, like, and it was like that was it, you know. And it was like, okay, I gotta do something. Like, I need to write some songs or something, or do something that's a little different for a bit. Play clean. I love Van Halen, but it's like, you know, if you do nothing but learn, you know, you just, I don't know, need a little bit of variety, right? Did you see that Ibanez Destroyer and Reverb has come down to the sensational steal price of $14,270? I might be partially responsible for that, I think, because I got one and everybody started talking about them. There was a few around when I bought mine, but they weren't that expensive, you know? And then you get the damn guitar and you make some videos with it, and it's like all of a sudden they're up like $10,000 from what they were 6 months ago. It was like, what the hell happened? They are hard to find. I will say that. I got lucky finding one that was slamming. That is just a great guitar, and it wasn't hard for me to get a hold of. It was, you know, just 30 miles from here or whatever, and I went and picked it up, and it was great. But they only made them for 2 years. I mean, try and find one. They're really hard to find. It's all supply and demand, I guess, you know. So I don't know. Yeah, Ben says shakes fist at Pete. There was, you know, I tried to get one up there, Ben. There was a store in Toronto. Oh, we talked about this, I think, that had one advertised, and then they were just like useless. I was leaving the store messages and calling. The guy's like, oh yeah, I don't know. I'll call you back and let you know if it's here. Never called me back. Some weird situation with a store up there in Toronto. But anyways, it was probably just some old listing that wasn't even relevant anymore. Strymon has just done that. Their pedals are now in black. Yeah, well, they'll change the color and try and, you know, because the thing is, R&D is tough. Putting out new things is tough. Just doing a new color for a pedal is easy. You know, that's something you can do and helps to bring in some dough, you know, in between, you know, these big product releases where it's like, it's hard developing products. I mean, it's like, it's a long road, you know, putting things together and bringing them to market and stuff. And, you know, you gotta have the ecosystem kind of in place to do that kind of stuff. And it's not an easy thing. So if you can, I mean, you see it with car manufacturers, right? They kind of refresh things. I mean, you know, over the years, they'll put out a model and then they'll try and get 5 years out of it before they do any kind of, you know, major redesign. And, you know, the reality is from the moment they put out, you know, a new BMW, you know, 330i or something, from the moment they put that car out, they're probably starting to think about what's next. We got about 5 years right now, and 5 years can fly by, like when it comes to, you know, design and stuff, you know, to put out something new. So, yeah. Some of the easiest things Eddie did are actually the hardest to get right. That was the magic of his riffing. You know, it's like with Eddie, it's his feel and there's like the space between the notes and all that kind of stuff. It's like that's some of the hardest things. The rhythm playing is the stuff that, you know, his lead playing is pretty hard too because it's so random. I mean, I learned that when I got into doing that, where it's like, okay, I can learn all these solos and get them note for note and stuff. But then if you start to watch him live, you're like, God, he just to really get into his style, you would have to like work on improvising in this style, which I tried to do a little bit. I tried to break the surface, and you can hear me do that a bit on the version of Drop Dead Legs we did, where at the end I'm kind of, okay, what would I do if I just sort of broke out in this style and started improvising like he used to do live, but try and get in his headspace. It's like being an actor, you know, doing that stuff where you're like trying to sort of embody, like, you know. I was also thinking, like, you know, I love improvisation. It's amazing, you know. And it's where a lot of guys, you know, live, you know, in the that kind of like, you know, when I think about some of my friends that are great at improv, I mean, Josh Smith, or, you know, it's an amazing thing. So not detracting from it all, but there's also nothing wrong with learning music and then performing it like a classical musician would, you know, no, a note for note, you know, which is, you know, when people play Comfortably Numb or something, or Hotel California, you play the damn solo because it's a piece of music in and of itself. It doesn't have to, you know, improv is great, but it's just sort of one aspect of music, I think. It's neat because you're getting sort of like the emotion in the moment and you're getting something special. No two times are the same sort of thing. But there's nothing wrong with, you know, note for noting stuff too. I don't think it's just as valid if it's done well with the right spirit and intention, and you know, it's classical music versus, you know, blues, I guess, or something. I don't know. I missed your super chat, says September Fire. What the heck was it? I'm sorry. I'm going to go back and try and find it. Dude, I'm sorry. I get a little bit off on tangents sometimes. It might have been the mic muted thing. I see Trevor's super chat. September Fire, it's too far back. I don't see it. So just, I'm going to watch the chat now. Ask again, whatever you asked me in the bottom here. Don't send me another super chat. And I'll watch the comments here for yours to come through, and I promise you're next as soon as you ask. What about the fuzz pedal with the V3? Oh, the one that I used. Yeah, okay. So that pedal is this one right here. Really cool sounding. Need to make a video for it. It's from a small company in Montreal. Really nice guy. He and his girlfriend stopped by here the other day and dropped this off because they're in town from Montreal visiting. And this is called Irvine's Fuzz, and it's from Screwed Circuits. Nice pedal. Screwed Circuits. See there, the circuits with a Z on the back. Or Z, if you're from England or Canada. Yep. What else have we got here? Are Destroyers prone to headstock breaks like Les Pauls? I don't really think so, because the neck is, I believe, maple. I think. Maybe it's maple. I think. And it's multi-layered. So it's a bunch of pieces of wood put together. So I'm not 100% sure about it, but I'm going to guess it's stronger than an Explorer neck, for instance, because it's the way that they're built is different. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't remember how many pieces mine is, but it might be 3 laminated pieces of wood across the neck, all put together, I assume, with the middle one going, you know, the grain going the other direction, or however they do that, you know, and then there's more on the headstock. You can see so it's probably, I would say, stronger than an Explorer with a, yeah. Any plans on touring in Japan now that they've opened for work visas? You know, I would hope, but I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know that they've actually opened up. From the last that I looked, there was no travel going there. So I might put in a call now that you've asked me. Because the last that I heard was I had been asked about availability this year about going over there. And then the last I heard was, we just can't risk it because we don't know what's going on with COVID. And there's no, like, they weren't open for, like, as of, you know, beginning of February, they weren't letting people in that were, you know, nobody was going to Japan, visitors. So it was like, yeah, this is getting down to the wire for any kind of stuff this year. So we don't think so. So that's the last I heard. But no, I might ask. Thanks for letting me know that. I hadn't heard that. I'll do a little more research into that today. Just be like, hey, what about now? Probably too late. But yeah. Okay, down at the bottom here, there was that fella. I was going to look for his super chat. September Fire. There you are. Ordered my Analog Man King of Tone after 4 years. Picked dark blue with the higher gain on red side. That's what I had, or what I have. I have one. I haven't used it for a long time. Not out of any kind of, you know, I don't know. I just haven't. But I've got my King of Tone here, and it has the higher gain red side. I mainly use on that pedal the other side, which you can also get in a standalone pedal, the Prince of Tone. It's the green or cleaner side, and what an amazing sound that is on that side of the pedal, the cleaner sound. And I use the red side for a few things too. I think the last time that I was really using that pedal was when I was playing with Melissa Etheridge, and I got a great sound out of it running into my Kelly. And the Kelly was kind of picky, that amp, about overdrives. I remember it used to be kind of, you know, just a little bit finicky with drives. It's a great sounding amp, but wasn't as easy as a Fender or Marshall or something to get a drive sounding great into the front end of it. But the rhythm tone that I got with the King of Tone into the the Kelly amplifier was on the cleaner side of the pedal was just great. Yeah. Of course, Destroyer necks are stronger. They are designed to whack hockey pucks. Yeah, they kind of look like it for sure. Yep. Wow. Headstock broke 3 times on your SG. That's a lot. My 335 has the strongest kind of repair, I think, that I could imagine being done, which is maple dowels being inlaid into where the break across the headstock was. He can put it together as best he could, and then he went and routed out these channels and actually inlaid strips of maple in there. So now it's got this kind of strengthened, with these dowels. Hopefully it never happens again. Yeah. Thanks, Simto, for this info. I didn't know that, and I'm going to make some inquiries later today about that. I appreciate it. Any thoughts on the Firebird? Had one. Make me think. The only gig we were talking about the Viper Room earlier. The only gig I played with a Firebird was this. It was like Pelham Blue Firebird with gold hardware, very showy guitar, 3 pickups, 3 mini humbuckers, the big old, Gibson Vibrola tremolo thing. And I got that guitar and I was like, this is the most badass looking guitar. Look at this thing. And I remember playing it that night at Viper Room. And I hadn't really played it that much, like experimented with it. And it felt so weird where it sat on my body. It felt like it was way over here. And like to play an F chord, I felt like, oh my God, my hand's out here. Like, and it was so really kind of like all of a sudden from going from another guitar to that felt like a little bit like going from a car to driving a great big truck. And I just was like, I don't know about this guitar. Like, and I was hooked up with Gibson then. I had a Gibson endorsement deal. So I took it back to them and I said, I don't know if this thing's for me, man. It had been Little Steven's guitar I'd heard, and then it went to me. And then I took it back. I was like, I don't know. And they were like, well, that's cool. Let's get you into something else that you feel more comfortable with. And that's when I got my black Les Paul Custom, which is the guitar that I ended up using, all through my Chris Cornell days. And I'm sorry, I'm like going through some arm crap right now. I think I need to go to the doc because if I lift my arm up like this, it really hurts. What do you guys think? Rotator cuff? I can, do this with this arm, no problem, right? I get to here on this arm and it's pain. I'm fine playing and everything, and as long as my arm's down here, it's cool. But I'm just, if I lean certain ways, I get really bad pain. If I try and go backwards with my arm, it's weird. It's been going on for a while, like month and a half, maybe. Maybe it kind of feels like the whole time I was in England. What do you think? Rotator cuff, maybe. Old age, perhaps. Frozen shoulder. That is not good, says Scooby Stapp. Yeah, what do you think? Rotator cuff. What are you guys saying? You're just getting older. Rotator cuff injury sucks. Pinched nerve, too much time sitting at a keyboard. You're just getting older, says Cooper. Doc will say, don't lift your arm. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. You should get an MRI. No, that's like $7,000 later. Welcome to America. I don't know. I might go get it looked at. Yeah, physio. Exactly. That's what I think I'll end up doing, some sort of physiotherapy. But yeah, I'm going to go get it looked at one of these days. All right. What do we got here? Been designing in the Fender Mod Shop. I just saw that today, the whole Fender Mod Shop thing. I saw an ad on Instagram for it. A little nervous about buying on the internet without playing it first. Your thoughts? I don't know. I mean, I guess, but a lot of people buying guitars, they must have some sort of return policy, right? I would think. And how long does it take to order something? Like, is it like a, month, 2 months? What's the lead time for getting something? They must have a return thing though, where you get something and you can send it back within 30 days or something, I would think, right? It might be a frozen shoulder. What's a frozen shoulder? Is that like giving somebody the cold shoulder? I've never heard of a frozen shoulder. Patrick says, do yoga. I know, I've been meaning to do that. I've been meaning to start stretching, getting a little more like, it's the word I'm looking for. Flexibility. That's it. Yeah. What else we got here? Yoga changed my life. A lot of votes for yoga here in the comments. I'm going to give it a try. Yoga daily. Mouse shoulder. What the heck is that? Sleeping position? Could be. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't do yoga, there's something wrong with you. Says my knees hurt. Shoulder impingement. They will give you some type of steroids and exercises to do. I don't like steroids. Physiotherapist. Yeah, okay. All right. It's gonna get worse. I know you're just looking out for me. Okay, Carbon had a return time. So must Fender. Yeah, I would think if you order something from Fender, there'll be some sort of return. I mean, I they've got to have something. So you're probably good to go if you want to, order something cool and get it. See what you think. I would say. Yeah. All right. What else have we got here? Sunday yoga with Pete. Yeah, I won't be doing. Yeah, it'll be like 3 weeks from now. All right, here we go. Down dog. Okay, I'm just going back through the. I missed this fella's super chat. Was asking what would be your go-to speaker for high gain rhythm and lead sounds aside from a V30. I really like the. Well, okay. There's a few that I can offer. The H75 Creamback is a great flavor of G12H, I think, and that's the speaker that we used in the 212 for the PT100. I think it sounds really good. It doesn't have that upper mid thing that the V30 has, although it does have an ample amount of top end, but without sounding ice picky or anything to me. It just has a great big fat clear sound. So that'd be the first one I would recommend, the G12H75 Creamback. You might also want to try the Redback, the 150 watt, if you want a bit more of a greenback kind of character. I think they're a little warmer sounding. It sounds a little more greenback to me. So those would be the two for high gain. If you like a V30, but you don't like the high mid spiky thing, maybe try a Warehouse Veteran 30. That's what they're kind of like designed after a V30, but like a model on a V30, but they supposedly have less of that upper mid kind of penetrating thing. Those would be the main ones that I would check out, honestly. And the first one I would go to would be probably the H75 Creamback. I quite like it. Yeah. Peter Stroud had a Firebird. Yeah, I seem to remember Peter having a Firebird. I know Peter Stroud. I've actually played with Peter Stroud. Did a Henley gig with him. Used to use it on Every Day is a Winding Road with Cheryl, but he doesn't anymore. Yeah, that's a unique, thing. The Firebird is kind of like the guys you see with Firebirds. They tend to, Johnny Winter. It's like that was his guitar. He played it. You don't see too many players use a Firebird and then go to something else and then go to something else. I mean, Peter did, I guess, but you don't see it last. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, the Firebird along with my Strat or my main. It's a kind of a thing. Like, if you play a Firebird, you play a Firebird, right? Am I crazy? I'll tell you one guitar that I really loved was this, the other Firebird. So is it called a non-reverse Firebird or a reverse Firebird? The one that looks like Gumby, kind of, the other Firebird that I'm talking about. And they tended to come with P90s. And my friend Frank Symes had one. It was a mid-60s with either 2 or 3 P90s. I think it had 2 P90s. And we used to use that guitar on a lot of solos. We were in a band together, and it just cut like a knife, man, with the P90s, and it was all mahogany. It just was this slab of tone that sounded great. And, the same way that a good Junior or SG special would be. It had this killer sound. Yeah. So there's a super chat there that I may or may not have missed. Let me see. Let me make sure I got them all here. Yeah, that was the Mod Shop one. The Filth. Let's get your name reminds me of that guitar and that Firebird, the reverse Firebird or whatever with the is it non-reverse or reverse? I get it mixed up. You know, the classic, the Johnny Winter Firebird or whatever. Is that non-reverse or reverse? And is the Gumby one non-reverse or reverse? I can't remember. Anyway, the one with P90s, that it was filthy. Okay, the filth. They warm off with locking tuners and V-style bridge goes out of tune when I so much as look at the tremolo. Does it have a vintage style bridge? You know, dude, the problem is at the bridge saddle. So what you should do is get some of the locking saddles. As long as the nut is cut great and the tuners are locking, your problem then exists at the saddles. So, all right. If we look at this guitar, I try and angle this. It's pretty in tune. It's dead nuts in tune. Right? Great. So that's what you want. You want this bridge, man, the Wilkinson. And you can see how the strings lock under the little black Allen screws. And the Allen screw just holds it to the saddle and doesn't allow it to lift up when you dunk the bar. I mean, it's like a Floyd, you know? It really stays in tune. So this is a solvable problem. Yeah. What would you pair with an H75 creamback in a 212, or would you just have a pair of 75s? You know, when we did it with the PT100, I listened to a bunch, like I listened to it with a 65, with a V30, with a bunch of different stuff. I liked the 275s. It sounded the most powerful and the best to me. So I'm generally not a big fan of mixing speakers. I do have a couple of, like I've got an open back cabinet that has an A type and a blue. That's cool. It's got different jacks for each speaker. It's a divided by 13. I used to put 2 jacks on the back. So I can run it either one or the other for recording. It gives me some variety. Other than that, I mean, you know, we do mix I lie, because we do mix in my PT 100 412 as well as the PT 15 212, but that's a little bit, I'm talking about a side-by-side 212. Not really crazy about that, but if you've got the ones where the speaker in the top and the bottom, the greenback in the top and the V30 in the bottom can be great, you know, so I like that. First guy I ever saw do that was, my friend Al Vermew, who used to mix greenbacks and H30s, and it was cool. But in a 212 side by side, one speaker always tends to dominate and stuff. With the 412 or with our 212, where there's a speaker in the top and a speaker in the bottom, you can use a lower efficiency speaker in the top, and it's actually kind of nice because it doesn't nail your ear as much. You don't hear them blend as much in a cabinet like that. You know what I mean? So the greenbacks in the top and then the 2 V30s in the bottom can work well, because then you get some options for miking, you know, and a little bit of variety. You know, it's just in those side-by-side 212s. That's what I was imagining you have. That for blending doesn't sound as cool to me. So, yeah. Okay, so Arthur, did you see the video from Jim Lill about Tonewoods and guitar pickups? He pretty much showed that Tonewoods are a myth. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I'll use the example. You could go find my video about, I did a video with 2 Sir T's and 2 Sir Classic S's many years ago for Vintage King. So search for Vintage King, Sir, Classic S, Classic T, Pete Thorn. You'll find it on YouTube. Go listen to that and tell me you can't hear the difference between those 4 guitars. They're all, the 2 T's are basically the same, except, so pickup spec, everything the same, but different woods. The 2 S's are exactly the same, different woods. So we're talking about swamp ash or alder bodies and maple or rosewood fingerboards. And the differences between the 2 guitars are audible. If you can't hear that, then it won't matter to you. but I can hear it, and you can hear it in the video. And it's exactly what I heard in my studio. A Swamp Ash, S or T, just has less through the mids. It's a little more scooped. It's got a little more air. An Alder guitar has more solid through the mids, less scoop. It just does. I don't know. I've heard it my whole life. I hear it when I play it acoustically. I hear it when I plug it into an amplifier. So I'm not one of these guys that says it doesn't matter. I think that people that can't hear the difference probably exist, but it doesn't mean that I can't hear the difference. I can friggin' hear the difference. I don't know. It all comes through the pickup, and somebody go watch that video right now and then come back and tell me that you can't hear the difference. I know I can hear the difference. Greg Koch doesn't seem to think that it's a myth. He's played a couple guitars. He certainly has. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's like, a Les Paul with a mahogany neck, like a 70s one or a 70s one with a maple neck. That's the 3-ply maple, they don't sound the same. It's a different sound. An ebony fingerboard and a 3-ply maple, Les Paul custom from the 70s sounds the same as a 59 or a 54 gold top or something, or I guess different pickups, but so that's not a fair fight. But you know what I'm saying? A 57 Les Paul or something a mahogany Les Paul just does not sound the same as a 70s one with when you start to introduce maple into the equation stuff. They just don't. An Alder, telly with a rosewood board from the 60s does not sound the same as a something that's made out of ash from the 50s with a maple board. It just doesn't. So the best test that I ever did, I did it. I've got 4. Where else are you going to get 4 identical, or 2 T's, 1 Swamp Ash, 1's Alder, 2 S's, 1's Alder, 1's Swamp Ash, and so you can hear it right there. The guitars were set up exactly the same, brand new strings, and I played the same licks on all 4 guitars, and you can hear the difference. And the difference between the T's and the S's, even though those are different guitars, you can hear the difference in the Swamp Ash, and you hear the difference in the wood, and it's exactly the same. It's that slight scoop in the mids, and the Alder to me, which is what this guitar is made out of, always has a bit more of an even mid-range kind of lows. It's a very even sounding wood, like everything's there. Second, you go to Ash, generally it can be lighter, and unless you get a heavy ash guitar, in which case they can end up being bright and a bit. Then you veer more into like a maple body where it's like that solid, bright kind of sound. But I don't know if it's just the weight, but many times a Swamp Ash guitar has this airier quality to it where the mids kind of can be really nice for clean sound, springy, kind of cleany, like, position 2 on a Strat kind of stuff or whatever. I generally find that those guitars don't sound as good with Overdrive. They don't sound as solid through the mid-range as an Alder guitar or something with mahogany. You don't get the solidity, is that a word, of tone through the mids. Peter Lasis, what's up, man? I think you mentioned recently you've been using a Korg STD 3000 on your board. I'm not using it in the board. I'm using it right here. There's one, you can't see it, but it's sitting right here by my power station. I've got it in the loop of the power station. So like any of these amps that go through to the cabinet in the other room through the power station, I can switch a delay in. And that's what I'm using, the STD 3000. It's like my studio delay. If I want to get a mono, just simple delay on the way out to the cab from like my old Marshall there or something that doesn't have an effect loop, I can do that. So that's how I'm using it. How do you have the input and output level set? Well, like I say, it's in the loop. I've got let me see. I've got the direct and effect balance on 5. I've got the output attenuator in the upper, all the way up position because I'm running it at line level. So it's on +4. And then I've got the input set in the middle. So the input attenuator switch is in the middle with the input gain on about 1030. The output is all the way up on +4. Output switch. Hope that's helpful. You probably set it different if you're running it in front of an amp or something. Are you still using an isolation cab? I've been running the aux for a while and still feel like there's something missing. I can't figure it out. I don't use an isolation cab. I have a cab in the other room that is isolated, but it's not a, speaker in a box or anything like that. It's an old 70s Marshall cabinet that's, isolated. I use this stuff from, what's the company? That's the company that does the plexi panels that Bonamassa uses. I'm forgetting the name of the company right now. Maybe somebody will say it. I believe they called it the Amp Pack or Amp Kit. And it's, look for Joe Bonamassa plexi panel, search for it on YouTube or on Google, and it'll pop up. You'll find the company that does it. I can't remember the name of them right now. I'm just going to look. I'll just go do it because that makes the most sense. Let's see. Joe, because he has a signature one. Let's see. Panels. Clear Sonic. Plexi Shield. The company is clearsonic.com. Yeah. Amp Cabinet Shield. So I use this kit from them. It is, I don't know what they call. I thought they called it the Amp Pack, but anyway, the company is Clear Sonic, and you can go look at the stuff they make. Looking right now, amp cabinet isolation, amp shields, amp pack, spelled P-A-C, A-M-P-P-A-C-S, amp packs. That's what I use. And so it's like a plexi panel, kind of like what you see Bonamassa using on stage, except they come with a thing to kind of close in the cabinet on the top, like a acoustic panel. And then you can also line the inside of the plexi with these things, and it sort of soaks up more sound. And so I've surrounded the cabinet with that, and I put the thing on top. It's not totally sealed, though, or anything like that, but it does soak up a hell of a lot of volume. It's kind of amazing. Cuts it in about half, from if the cab is just blaring in the room to when you surround it with this thing and close it in. Cuts it down by like half. It runs into that brick wall of these Sorber. I remember they were called Sorber panels. And, it definitely makes it a little easier to, if you've got like a, home studio setup and you're in the basement or something, and, you can still crank, but you can't, you want to control the volume somewhat and, make it a little bit more friendly for home. They can work for that. If you need total isolation, it's not going to work, and you're better off with something like the aux. But the aux is great. I mean, that said, I don't know what, if you want to experiment with this stuff, it ends up, it's a bit of a road that you go down as far as miking, mic pre's, long cables, volume, the whole thing. It requires a lot of dedication to kind of get a good mic'd up thing going. I used to use a closet when I lived in Santa Monica. This is before I had this amp pack thing, and I would just surround. I bought some. I can't even remember what I was using. I think I made. So I built an isolation cabinet into a closet when I lived there, and I hated the way it sounded because it sounded all boxed in when I closed it up. So then I tore up that cabinet, and I used some of the stuff that I used on the inside of the cabinet to just surround a cabinet instead of putting it in a wooden box. That worked. Inside a closet with just the soft stuff all surrounding the speaker cabinet, and then closing the door to the closet, and then maybe attenuating a bit. I could get a great mic'd up sound that way. Ran long speaker cables all the way out to the, from was this place I was using. It was like a little, kind of a townhouse that I was using as a studio more than anything for a while, around 2010, 2011. It was okay. But yeah, long story short, I just don't really like the ISO, when you put all the, in a box and closing it. It's like closing in the space always, it's going to sound like this. All of a sudden your guitar sounds like this. It's all wide open, and then it starts to do this. And it's like you hear this like this abundance of 400 hertz kind of in the guitar sound that just doesn't sound like a cabinet when it's wide open in a room. It sounds like a cabinet that's in a little box. The mic picks it up, and it just doesn't really work. So the more, Tim Pierce once told me, because if you're building like an ISO closet or something for a cabinet, the more space, the more volume you can use. I don't mean volume sound level. I mean volume space. The more space you can give that cabinet to breathe in that room, and probably the least amount of reflective straight surfaces. If you can build it kind of odd shaped and a little bit reflective, but also some absorption on the walls and stuff, you know, and put the cabinet in there, close it in. The more space, the better. I agree with that. Yeah. This fella Arthur is saying, hi Arthur, he's saying a dramatic differences in high gain stuff. I think that pickups make a huge difference along with various amps. I think this is part of the wood discussion, right? I think the higher gain you get, you know, the more distortion you pile on, you might start to hear less difference in woods, but I still hear it. I mean, I can hear a basswood body as opposed to a hard ash body, like that's on my black Strat with the Floyd, you know, the kind of the Van Halen woods. That guitar has a very, very, very unique sound, and I don't have anything else with those woods. The maple neck and that hard ash body, it's got a very bright, aggressive, kind of reminiscent of a lot of early Van Halen. And that compared with like a basswood, like my basswood, like one of these, you know, this is a very different sound. This is a much sort of, you know, warmer, high gain kind of sound to these guitars, and it's basswood, right? This doesn't sound anything like that black guitar I have with the tortoiseshell pickguard and a Floyd on it. Yet they're very similar. I mean, it's a one humbucker with a Floyd thing, you know. And the other guitar, the acoustic quality that you hear of the other guitar, it's harder, it's brighter, you know, it's a little faster, you know, than that, which is softer, a little squishier, and you know, guitar's got a higher output pickup in it, but it's just a different sound, and the same thing that I always hear acoustically is what comes through the amp. So yeah. Sorry, did I miss this? Brian, I got to split pretty soon. It's 1:42. I got about another 10 minutes. I know you've met Rick Beato. That would make a killer Sunday chat. I'd love to have Rick on if he ever would. You know, Rick's a big deal. He's busy these days, but I'd love to have him on my Sunday show. We could chat. That's a good idea. I should talk to him. Saw you in Harrogate. Great gig. Lovely town you've got there. What was it like for you? It was great. It was kind of melancholy because it was the last show of the tour, but we sure had a fun one. You know, it was nice because the second to last show was good, but it was a little more mellow, and it was like, you know, it was like, oh, because we'd played I remember we'd played the weekend. Where the heck were we? What town were we in? I can't remember where we were towards the end of the tour. And we did a great weekend show. It was really fun. Maybe that was Newcastle. Maybe. But anyway, we played on the weekend, and it was super fun. And you know, and then we got to Monday, and it was like, you know, Monday. The UK is very like, you know, the Friday night gigs are always the best because everybody can drink, and everybody gets a little bit lit. And it's like, you know, they want to party. Whereas the gigs during the week or maybe on a Sunday or something are always a little more like, you know, reserved for the crowd. And you really notice it. So Friday and Saturday nights are always kind of a party. So we played Friday, Saturday night, I think. And then like, you know, we played again on Monday, and it was like not as crazy, you know. It was like, oh, it kind of would have been nice. I mean, it's still fun, but it was like, it would have been nice had we ended on a Friday kind of thing, you know, on that high note. Well, then we got to, I think it was like the Tuesday in Harrogate. I think it was a Tuesday. And the crowd was amazing. It was like great, you know, really, and that beautiful old theater. And so it was really nice for the last show of the tour to have a terrific gig at that venue. So really fun. That's my memory of it. It was nice to go out on that super high note. Yep. The higher the gain, the less the Tonewoods matter usually. A lot of guys that agreed with that video were high gain players, lower gain blues, jazz, funk players. Ken will tell you Tonewoods matter. Yeah, I mean, like, play the guitar clean, first of all, you know, before you pile a bunch of distortion on. What's that sound like clean, you know? You know, distortion distorts things. So it's, you know, harder to hear the, you know, but there is also something about distortion that can also reveal things, because it's a kind of a bit of a conundrum, because distortion can be really unpleasant, or it can be warm and nice, you know, depending on, you know. So this is why basswood guitars, many times I think Van Halen and It's sort of gravitating towards it and stuff. And John Suhr likes it, I know too. For gain, it can just give you a slightly less sort of ragged top end. And that's a thing for sure, even on a high gain guitar. I mean, that's what I hear on that guitar. Whereas the Van Halen guitar there, that's the EVH, but with the basswood body, his first guitar was very bright, and I think he kind of veered away from that out over the years. He got darker by the time Van Halen got to Fair Warning. The sound was getting darker, hotter pickup and stuff, I think, by then. And then you saw him kind of, it's kind of rumored that the 5150 guitar could be poplar or alder. People don't know. Maybe it was basswood, poplar, alder, basswood. Hard to say, but it definitely sounded different. By the time he got to that point, the Eventide also softened the edge on the Van Halen sound and stuff. But he wasn't sounding nearly as bright and cutting as Van Halen 1, which, from his mouth to Dave Friedman's ears, I remember him saying he didn't like the sound of Van Halen 1, that it was too bright. So with the various things that were going on in that record, which I've covered to ad nauseum, in videos. But, we all like it. I like it, but it's like, I guess it makes sense. I mean, I remember Steve Vai telling me that, when it comes to amps, the sound of the Legacy and the sound of certainly his module, which is up there in the rack, the green one there that you can see for the Synergy, he likes a kind of a fat, full single note voice that's not too, and he's like, when I'm out there playing, I'm the lead singer, and like the Jose Marshall thing and all that, I love that sound, and it can be really great, especially on chords, that cutting, like really awesome sounding. But for single notes, it can be a little skinny for some players, maybe, like, the notes are a little sharp and it can be bright. And he's like, if I'm going to be up there playing that sound for like 90 minutes or 2 hours, it's like, it gets a little like after a while. And I understand that. I mean, when I think about the fat tones of somebody like, Frampton or, the very lyrical kind of, or Jeff Beck, it's darker, it's fatter, it's warmer. So, maybe over the years, folks lean more towards that, to be like, yeah, I don't want to, like, after 10 years of being on stage with this crazy bright, aggressive, thing, maybe it's too much, So, that makes a lot of sense, because Steve's tone is amazing. He does sound like, he's singing with the guitar. Jeff Beck singing with the guitar. Frampton, single note singing, Eddie, this guy says, G-Man, he says he loves Ed's tone on balance. Yeah, and I guess that would be probably 5150s by then, and, a healthy dose of harmonizer, which always tends to soften out the top end to me, sort of, Steve would be a great guest. I'd love to have Steve on here. That'd be amazing. But we did do that one interview. If you've seen the it's almost like this format on the for the amp, the Steve Vai Jose modded Marshall. It's on my channel if you haven't seen it. It's a great interview that I got to do with him. I mean, he was great. I don't know if I was starstruck, but he was awesome, and I was so happy that he agreed to do it. And we had a really nice talk about that amp and about the kind of things that we're talking about right now, actually. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Joe Satriani is a very thick, warm tone. Yeah, he tends to, veer in that direction too, because when you're the lead singer, you can't have he's the lead singer on the guitar, Makes sense. All right. What else we got here? I got to split in about 3-4 minutes, but let's catch a few more here. Thoughts on Seymour Duncan hot rail and Strat in the bridge position? I don't know much about those pickups. I was never really like a rail pickup guy. I don't know. I just kind of I like traditional, screw and slug coils and that kind of stuff, as opposed to, the hot ceramic. It's a very different kind of thing, I just never got into that, I guess, I really like your 2 notes cab pack. Thanks, G-Man Music. Are you going to create some presets for that pack? They asked me to, and then I had to go on tour and I never got them to them and stuff, but I could simply actually give the presets that I used in my demo because I made a demo and I've got all those stored. So I should do that. It's one more thing you reminded me to do. I should send them the presets so that they can upload them. People can download them. It's the ones that I used in the demonstration video that I made for the product. But thanks. I'm glad you like them. I am. This fella says, there's no way it doesn't matter. This is about Tonewood. I think I can even hear different fretboards and fretwire. I'm a less special musician than all of you. You're special, and we think so. We like you just the way you are. I just don't get the dudes that say it can't be heard. I know it's like the difference between stainless steel frets and nickel frets. It's like they totally have a different acoustic little bit of attack. I can hear it like plain as day. It's like that little ping. You guys know what I'm talking about. So are you playing with Melissa Etheridge at New Orleans Jazz Fest? I am not. I saw my good friend Melissa yesterday, which was great. I've seen her a couple times over the last couple months. So she's had a new pedalboard designed, and I was helping her dial that in. And as well, she's going to start using PT15 live. Pretty cool. So she's been a long time user of Sir, kind of on and off because she went to Axe-Fx for a while too, doing things. But she's also had Badgers for ages, which we got her into back when I was playing with her ages ago. But yeah, she's really the main guitar player in her band now. There's a keyboard player that also plays some guitar, but she wanted to take over that and she's really passionate about playing guitar solos and stuff. So that's what's going on there. But it was great to see her, and it's nice to still hang with her sometimes and stuff. Treble bleed versus 50s wiring. What's your preference? I generally speaking in a Les Paul, I like the 50s wiring. It seems to work great. I like the kind of quick roll down and the way you can blend the pickups. I don't even think about a treble bleed in the Les Paul anymore. But on a guitar like this, I use the Sir treble bleed because it just works perfect. So I don't know, in a Les Paul, no treble bleed. In one of these, I go for it. So, okay. How many guitars do you have now? Geez, I'm not actually sure, to be honest. You agree with EVH about basswood body with maple cap being the bum diggity? That's kind of Sir's thing too. He really likes that. I think for high gain, it can be pretty cool. I really like my mahogany, like the guitar that I originally my signature, for it's just sounds great to me, like the mahogany neck, mahogany body with the maple top. But basswood's nice. I mean, I like my Wolfgang. I like that basswood EVH right there. I think for high gain, it's got a nice warmth to it. I know some people feel like Phil X feels like it's got no bass. I haven't found that really. That could just be maybe the Floyd's one that he's not used to, and he's used to playing Les Pauls and things, which do have more, But I find, generally speaking, basswood's nice with gain. I mean, I like it. I don't have any qualms. I feel like maybe it's a little boring sounding with semi overdriven, or things you might use like things where you want a little more life in your semi, like a Black Crowes tones, or that kind of thing. Free tones, like things that would require that kind of guitar sound. The middle position on Les Paul, I don't think I'd be very happy with or even cleans on a Strat. I feel like Alder's got a bit more rich mids and a bit more top end character or something, a bit more je ne sais quoi on a guitar like a Strat like this. That's why this is Alder. And a basswood on something like this, for anything other than high gain, maybe not basswood for me. But high gain, kind of nice, the way it's got a smooth, kind of even, maybe slightly darker, warmth to it. Basswood is like the Alnico 2 of woods. All right. Well, you guys, I gotta go. It's 1:54. We've had a good long one today. It's about 2 hours and 8 minutes. It's fantastic. So we've had some fun here, and I do appreciate all of your super chats very much. Thanks. Flippity Doo here says he likes the Wolfgangs that Wolf has been playing. Yeah, he's been playing these semi-hollows. They look like they're still a bolt-on neck, though, I think. But, bigger body, kind of, it's interesting because he's a 335 fan. So it's the natural progression of, he was great this week. I saw him at the Wiltern play. Just awesome. Really terrific. Just a couple more real quick here. Braxel, if I record my 412 with the power station at bedroom volume, it won't sound good. No, it can sound really good. I mean, putting a mic in front of a 412 at a low volume, you can get some surprisingly great sounds, you know, as long as it's not so low that you hear the pick of the acoustic pick of the string and coming through the mic as loud as the cabinet. I mean, generally speaking, you want to get speakers moving a little bit, you know, to really do its thing. But it's kind of amazing how low you can turn a sound and still get a good, respectable sound mic'd. It's better than, I think it's probably better than a loud substandard ISO box with a speaker in it. You know, I'd rather record a 412 in an open room at a low volume. So you got to try it for yourself and see what you think, you know. Yeah. Try recording just, you know, get away with playing loud for a minute and just play some good open chords, set your mics, you know, at the right level, record a few sounds, just, you know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds of a clip, turn the power station down, reset the mic gains, record again, turn the power station down again, reset the mic gains, record again, and listen to the difference between, say, 3 different versions of like quite loud, moderately loud, and way down to like a, you know, a volume that's like TV volume or whatever, mic'd up, and see what you think. Just kind of go for it, you know. Oh, the big old super chat coming in right there at the end. I appreciate that. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. Have a great week. Videos this week. Yeah, so I'm working on all kinds of stuff. One thing that I thought I would do is a video, because I've had this mod done to my SL68 where I've got a switchable bright cap in it. So I thought maybe I would just show the effect of the bright in a quick video. You know, could probably do it in a 6-minute video and just be like, hey, here's the thing with Marshalls and bright caps, you know, because I've got 2 different values of bright in there as well as no bright. So if you guys would find that interesting, you know, just because it's such a big, like, it can be kind of quintessential Marshall sound. A big part of it can be having the amp set. Just, it makes the amp, when you switch in the bright cap, it makes the amp a bit of a one-trick pony, but it's a great trick. Whereas when you take the bright cap out, the amp's usable across the whole range, but it doesn't quite have that at like 6 or 7 that it does with a bright cap switched in, you know. And the different value of bright cap, like the super big bright cap that can make it very, very ear splitting or bright all the way up to 8, can sound great at just 1 point on the volume, you know. So I thought I would make that. And then I've got I wanted to knock out a video for Tracy's pedal here. I showed this at the beginning. This is a really nice sounding distortion pedal. So I thought I would just try to get that done quite quick. There's some pedals coming out that I can't tell you about. It's a Sackless pedal here that I'm going to make a video for, from fellow from Greece, right? Sackless. And then there's a couple other from a big manufacturer that haven't been announced yet that I've got to make videos for that. And so I got to do that. Acoustic guitar, I got to do a video for Guitar World magazine. So these are all things that are on my plate for the next little while. Okay. There you have it. All right, everybody. I love you all. Thanks so much for being here. And thanks for your continued support and the super chats. And you're all too kind. And thanks for taking my mind off the crazy world for a couple hours. You know, it's always healing to come in here and talk with you fine folks every week. So thanks for coming back. I'll be here next week. Everybody have a good one. Be safe out there.